Well, hello. We are live.
Hello,
Man, where you been, man? I haven't seen you in like a month.
Yeah, I was in Texas for 3 weeks, and I finally got home last night.
Right.
So I thought it would be cool to do a catch up. See
We're
what
so
you've
far
been up
behind
to.
on everything, dude. I know, like, it's funny because all these episodes that we have been putting out, they're all like recorded like 3 months ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like we haven't
Yeah.
had a lot of live stuff. So we definitely need to get back on it. Now Matt did one which was really great about more about the Panathor lore and what he would do to tweak
Yes,
some of that.
I started listening to that. I'm about halfway through, maybe.
Yeah. And what's coming up on the show? We're going to be recording with a gentleman named Matt from North Carolina to kind of talk about the North Carolina scene. He's got an event coming up, so we're talking about that. I am working to get Bill Hupp on. He owns Thistle and Rose, which makes like I think 15mm fantasy models, but he's also just a real great lover of Mantic games now. I've been watching a lot of his posts. He's doing like some Armada, and he's really getting into the game. So I'm really excited just to get another, maybe someone that has his voice has not been shared yet. And he's an older gentleman like myself. Like he's older, so I always think that's refreshing too to get maybe a take from a different demographic that we don't always get. The 30-somethings or the 40-somethings. So
yeah.
So what have you been up to, man?
Well, as far as like you said, talking about what's coming up for the show, we're gonna have a great episode recording soon with myself, the Pretzel Twinkie, and Matt Carmick from the Rules Committee, and we're going to be talking the new Twilightkin. So that's going to be really exciting. We're going to be talking a few things about it. We're going to be talking about you can suck whatever you do down under.
You know what's funny, because he does kind of like limber over a little bit like that. So, but maybe that's as tall as he is, and maybe the camera doesn't go any lower.
That's what happens when you're in the northern hemisphere, right? It's just how
you're always looking up.
It's how gravity works. So we're gonna have the Twilightkin episode. We're gonna be talking about, I think, many ways, Rob. Ronnie's mentioned it before in the past, right? This idea of Mantic 2.0, right? Of how are we growing? How are we learning? And I think the Twilightkin army is very representative of that, both from the uniqueness and the flavor of the rules, and then also the top to bottom redesign of the models. I really feel like when you're going to see that army, you're going to see it's going to be very much the next level of design, I think. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, about the design philosophy behind the army. We're going to talk a little bit about how units changed in design. I think people love to hear about that, right? Hear about from the RC how ideas aren't just pulled out of a bag, but
right.
There is a process that goes through that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I think we're going to do a couple little spoilers. We're all the sort of hubbub around the new Twilightkin. We're going to have a nice long discussion. So stay tuned. Looking like that episode is probably going to be coming out early September to kind of go alongside when the first round of pre-orders for the army comes up. So if you're interested at all with the new Twilightkin, which you have every right to be, both model-wise and faction-wise, stay tuned for that episode.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we're going to have some more firefight stuff coming up too. It was officially announced that Kyle Timberlake, one of our tripod, is now on the Firefight Rules Committee.
Woohoo! Congratulations, Kyle. That's awesome.
Congratulations to Kyle. And it's great for our show. We're going to have a permanent member of our Firefight podcast.
Shout out to Matt though. Matt's been killing it every time he's been on.
We're gonna add another permanent RC member, right? So now two of our regular hosts, as Matt has been joining us too, are RC. I'm really excited for the Command Protocols book. Very much I feel like in a lot of ways, Rob, the Firefight second edition, it's been like an open beta of it's really a first edition, second edition. Tell us what you think. And this book has a lot of really quality of life changes, faction balance changes, but core gameplay refinement. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. And just like I said, I was in Texas for a couple weeks. I played a lot of board games. Um, got to see Jeff Swan and Mark Cox. The Texas guys was pretty fun. Got in some Marvel Crisis Protocol, which was really fun to play a miniatures game in person. And now we're just getting ready for Bay of Kings. Bay of Kings is coming up towards the end of September. 1995, which I know you love, Rob.
Love it. I love small points where you have to make hard to, I understand 2300 is like a standard size here in the US, and I understand why. You never have to make a difficult decision. You just get everything. You get your cake and all the frosting. But playing at that small scale,
Britton loves having the Bay of Kings at that 1995, and we're still going to be playing at the boat dock with the beautiful boats. We're going to be having the same barbecue that Saturday night at the yacht club. Bay of Kings is a really great event. So if you're in the greater California area or you're still interested in coming to that event, you can always message myself or Britton Williams, and we'll help you facilitate that travel.
Yeah, so
and then also I'm excited about Rob.
Okay. You are excited, I can tell.
Well, I mean, I think it's like and it's
you grew like a couple inches. You were like that. Woo.
Oh, well. And it's like a total like a hype train thing. Or it was really like the big hit at Adepticon. Have you seen any of the new like Disney trading card game coming out?
Lorcana, yeah.
Lorcana, yeah.
Have you been following what happens though? Like,
it's been quite a story.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously it's coming out from Ravensburger. So it's like people are selling some of the promo stuff like crazy on eBay. The lines at Gen Con, from what I heard, were crazy.
Hours long.
Yeah. And then there's the lawsuit from Upper Deck against Ravensburger about the contractor that was working on a similar game for Upper Deck and then moved over to do Lorcana. And so that's, And then did you see the thing about Magic at Gen Con where someone walked off with a $300,000 pallet with the cards?
Stole the pallet.
He just walked in. They just like two guys just walked in and were like, "Yeah, we work here." And they just during setup just grabbed the pallet jack. And
now those guys,
walked
I saw
out.
that they have the security footage from that, right? Those guys got to get caught at some point.
You would think.
They have like
what do you do with something like that? How do you sell that? Right? Like, I mean,
seriously, one box at a time on eBay. I mean, how is that worth the risk of
because
$300,000
is a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money. So, but yeah, Lorcana, it obviously came out this weekend. I have not. I went to the shop yesterday, and I guess I forgot to even ask if it was. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that they got some stuff, and I'm sure it's. I mean, we have a pretty good.
Yeah, and I guess on September 1st, it's going to be at the big box. So I guess like Best Buy and all those places are going to have it. I think as like a card game, it looks pretty cool, actually. And I think I can get I like playing those type of games. And this looks like to me, maybe one that I could get like my board game group to try because they like Disney movie stuff. So, but the actual game design looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like they have some interesting mechanics in it. Different. Did you ever play Magic at all?
I did. Yeah. And Magic, okay. I played Battlestar Galactica CCG. I played another game called Anachronism. I played a few different ones. Yeah.
In this game, instead of having energy cards, you can turn your regular cards into what they call an ink, and then you use ink to draw your cards. I mean, you're paying for your card, right? But the whole fluff is like, instead of summoning sickness when you cast a creature, its ink is not dry yet. You know what I mean? So you can't use it. But it means that you're essentially never going to get mana screwed because all your regular cards, you can always, as a backup, change them into an energy.
So it sounds like the people in the chat are saying that they know who they are, which is a bad deal there.
Yeah, I was going to be shocked if someone who knew enough to know to take Magic cards is not someone well known in the community,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate because it kind of like gives I've only been to Gen Con once, and that was a long time ago, and they had 25,000 people back then. Now that they're over 70,000, man, that's just too many people. I don't think it was already crowded at 25,000, but you could still move, right? But you still had to wait a long time for demos and stuff. I can't even imagine with 70,000 people. I think that's, I don't know. I don't know. I know they're contractually obligated for a little bit, right, to stay in Indy, but like, I don't know. At some point you got to I don't know. That's just crazy to me.
Oh. So now I'm trying to think about what I'm going to take the Bay of Kings, because that's coming up. So
yeah, when is the Bay of Kings event?
I think it's the 23rd, 24th, somewhere, whatever that weekend is. September. Let me double check.
And how do we find out details?
Yeah, September 3, 23, 24. There's both a website and it's on Facebook. So just search Bay of Kings on Facebook and you'll find the group. And I think there's also a website, which I think is just Bay of Kings.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. And we got Michigan GT that's going to be happening on October 6th.
Yeah, just bayofkings.com.
Bayofkings.com.
We'll have all the information. September 23, 24 in San Diego. It's going to have a beautiful, the venue is beautiful. It's both new player and veteran friendly at the lower points value, and the scenarios are right out of the book.
Awesome. And we got the Michigan GT coming up on October 6th through 8th. It'll be Kings of War for 2 days. They have Armada, Firefight, Dead Zone. They got a bunch of Mantic games up there. Mantic was there last year, so I expect Pat and the booth will be there again. So, and it's going to be a tough room. It sounds like, Adam and Travis and the Omaha guys are making the trip. Eric Trowbridge and Kyle Poole are making the trip from Ohio. Little Birdie has told me one of my favorite human beings in the world, Andrew Summer. And I'm not even drunk, but Andrew Summers from Indianapolis is making the trip up. So I'm really excited to see Andrew
coming out of the jungle, out of his special.
I haven't seen him in a long time. And then we got the Minnesota guys coming. So register. I think that's just MichiganGT.com, but also if you just do a search for Michigan GT, you'll find the website. It's great. Obviously, it's a convenient event for me because my mom lives in Lansing, so it's like, I have a place to stay. Awesome. Yes. Troy, hopefully you're making the trip. That's cool.
Michigan GT is like a convention style, right? They have
it's got 40K, it's got Conquest, AOS, Bolt Action. Nice. I don't really remember all the games they've got, but they have a long list. And I think last year we were in the mid-20s for Kings of War. I think we'll be in the mid-30s this year, just because of all the new faces. Locally, Andy Patton is going to be going up with me, and we're making we're trying to make it a whole thing. So we're going to go up a little early. We're going to swing through Ohio and catch up with Eric and company. Awesome. And then, we're really, really excited about it. And I guess it's also important that we mentioned we had a couple events that have just happened. Troy brought up, Alex's event went out with a smashing success, but Kings Beyond the Wall. So congratulations to Alex and all the guys in Canada that ran a great event. And congratulations to Corey Reynolds, right? He's the one that took it out.
Yes. Yeah, and I think Alex, this was a round where they swapped Tio, where he got to play.
Right, he got to play, and he got to play Corey, I believe. Right?
I think they challenged each other in the first round, and it was a super close game. And then Alex submarined the rest of the way.
Exactly. I was thinking about this. That can go one of two ways, and we're going to talk about another one where it doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
But like in that scenario, you got to grudge up. So obviously, if he wants to play Corey, he's got to grudge Corey. Mm-hmm. But in the first round, if he loses, like you said, you're set up for a nice little slow, steadily, submarine. Yeah. Now we also just held TNT this weekend, and our buddy Dan Kamek from Mississippi challenged Alex Chavez. And you know what? It did not work. It didn't go that way. So Alex put him to the bottom of the ocean, and he just stood there. I don't know where he finished.
I know. I think I saw either a round 2 or a round 3 or a round 4 table. Here are the matchups for this round, and Dan was on like table 15, and I was like, "What's going on? What's happening?"
I don't know. They didn't have any like I can't follow it, right? Like they didn't post any scores.
Yeah.
So, but in my Discord, I did get some stuff, and huge shout out to Alex Chavez for taking it out. So, and there were some heavy hitters there. Mm-hmm. Dale Motley was there, and Keith Randall's a perennial knockout artist. Nathan Clevenger, Bryce Clark, Kevin Drury, all the Southeast filthy guys, good players were there. So, it'd be interesting to see how they all kind of finish out, because it's a different event, right? Because they've got a wrestling theme, and the managers that they give you that are like the free add-ons are a little bit out of control. And so I'm sure that it had. I'm sure. Yeah. So why do you think I'll leave a message? Well, Kyle, I mean, just hanging out with Eric, he's not going to like magically make you good. But we're going to see you in a little bit because, like I said, we're going to be making our way up there on Thursday before the event to hang out with our bros in the.
I love convention style events, and so that definitely I would like to hit the Michigan GT one year.
Oh, anytime, you know, you got a place to stay. It's
sounds
a lot
like
of fun.
a really fun
and it's
event.
not a big city. And what I mean by that is, I mean, you know, it's the capital of Michigan. It's like, you know, I don't know, 150,000 people. It's not a huge city. And so, like, from my mom's house to downtown where the event's held is like 10 minutes. You know, and it's, you know, I've never been a big fan of like New York City, for example. And, you know, we're having Masters next year at Washington, D.C. That's the only negative that has, you have to deal with that traffic, right, in Washington, D.C. But Lansing, there's no traffic. So
awesome.
Per se.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. Again, congratulations to Alex Chavez. So I do want to get to, we did do I had this funny picture that came up that the store actually took on Wednesday night when I was playing, and I wanted to add that. And I did ask for some people to give us some great captions, right? And unfortunately, I did it late, so a lot of people didn't see it. But you know, this is funny. So this is a local player over here. This is our buddy Chris Bowen, and this is Brian Swatley. Now, Brian, I am lamenting because I have been playing Brian in his Northern Alliance filth. It's not filth, but Northern Alliance Army. Gosh, 5 or 6 times in the last few weeks. Really, you know, we really just been honed on, just really working on kind of workshopping some stuff. Me for Michigan GT and him for whatever. But what was funny is, you know, if you look at this picture, it's like, well, what the hell is Chris gonna say? And why does Swatley have his finger by his mouth like that?
Yeah, he's looking like he's really thinking deeply.
So we have two. We did on Facebook. We had 2 people that gave us some funny captions. Dale Childress, local guy here in town, said Bowen, who's this gentleman over here. Bowen can't believe the stupid thing he just heard, and Swatley is deliberately pausing before addressing that stupid thing. So yes,
like, what did he?
For sure.
What did you just say? And he's
exactly. And then our buddy from South Dakota, Jeremy Altman, said, Bowen, where the Frost Claw Ravens gonna get a drink after the battle? Swatley, don't know. A crowbar? Oh, it's terrible. That's terrible, right? Like, I mean, just the worst, but funny
yes, that is
but yeah, so that, well, you know, we need to start doing that. We need to start picking some of these funny pictures that we get people posting every once in a while and see if we can get some fun.
Because there's a lot of them for sure, right?
There's a lot of it. But you know, one thing we haven't talked about in a while, because like we haven't really had a fresh episode in a while. Let's talk a little hobby. What's going on with you? Obviously, you probably got no hobby, right?
I just got back, so I think I'm going to. I always like. I don't know about you, Rob. Whenever I've been out of town for a little bit or away, the first thing I like to do when I get back is do like a hobby desk cleanup.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go through the hobby desk, get it ready. I'm still working on the Empire of Dust. I have my GCPS for Firefight. Sort of waiting in the wings. I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to jump on the Twilight Kin right away or not. I think once I see all the models, I'll just go with what the gut.
I've got to have some self-restraint, dude. I've already got so many armies waiting,
and that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah,
I got a lot to paint right now.
But you know, I kind of expect you to do them because you're a.
I know, because they're
Twilight Kin nut
job. They're like one of my favorite factions of all time. So
right.
I think I'm probably going to end up getting them and just be like, I'll do the Empire of Dust when I do them. And like I said, I still want to work on Firefight. I need to add. So I'm adding to the Forge Fathers. They are in command protocols. They are getting a command tank. So it's a tank that gives you a command dice. Yes. And what I want to do in that command tank, there's a guy like standing on top. I want to. I don't even know what he's trying to say. He doesn't know.
Well, I love this. This is Kyle speak, and then this is English.
Duval's going to get 3 of every T-Kin box. Yes. So what I want to get, Rob, is I want to get a custom Forge Father model that looks like Kyle Timberlake. and he's going to be my commander in my command tank for my Forge Fathers. So I know there's people out there who will custom sculpt you something. So I need to start looking into that. Like when we did Blaster, who did we get? How did we get that sculpted?
So that was traditionally sculpted by crap. His name is Kevin, and he was the original sculptor for Goblins for GW back in the 80s.
Oh, so he was there was a pedigree there.
Yeah, he was, and so I wanted that old hammer aesthetic. What is his name?
Yeah,
Kevin. He's famous, dude. I'm blanking on it, and I'll maybe come up with it later when I look it up. But yeah, but remember that was traditionally sculpted. That was like 5 years ago at this point. Yeah. So if I was to do it again, I think we go 3D sculpting at that point. And I've been thinking about that. Like, do we? Because we had originally talked. Okay, we have Blaster. He's got his. He has a sword, and he's got the old logo, right? So it's the Captain Morgan pose. He's got a sword or a big torch, and we have a story that it was like, well, maybe we will do the next iteration of him because he's so famous now that he survived. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. That's Kevin Adams, and like the fact that I forgot Kevin Adams' name is like now. I only got Kevin Adams because I was friends with Kawe, right, from Westphalia. So Kawe gave me the in. Because I don't think you can just get a skull. I don't think you can get, I don't just think some Joe Blow is going to be able to get a one-off sculpt from Kev Adams. But
not like did the introductions. A big name guy that. Like,
yeah. So I was super pumped. And what's amazing, and I'll have to share some pictures. I mean, I have the original sculpt that's in green stuff here. Then I have like the resin master. So I have all the stuff. But I probably do have another. Yeah, I don't think I even have any of the models left. But yeah, thanks, Jeremy, for saving me there. What's interesting is, Luke brings a good point. With when there's changes coming, like he's talking about with Marauders, it's like, if you live on that ragged edge of playing a little bit stuff that's, it's like if you were building a Salamander army or a Force of Nature and you have a bunch of Scorchwings, buyer beware, right? Like there's probably a change coming.
Yeah.
So
we all know those dirty Australians play on the razor's edge. So
he's in I don't want to say the wrong name of the city, but he's a northern city, I think, along the coast, right?
I just give
not Brisbane. Is it Brisbane?
Is it Luke Brisbane? Is one of our regular After Dark guys, so I'm just giving him a hard time.
Oh, and by the way, if you haven't listened to Luke, he did a great job on the episode with Matt, talking about the Australian Masters. That was really fun to have. The guys on there just chatting about kind of what they're doing, how it's evolving.
And that's true. I love a good hobby cleanup. I don't know what it is. I just love a good.
Well,
I just love a good hobby cleanup.
Well, it's funny you say that because I've started a hobby cleanup, but it's really about getting rid of crap that I don't need. So I've started the purge, and first thing to go is more high elves than I could ever possibly count. Right, like just.
So what generation are we talking about? Were we talking about like?
Sixth, seventh edition.
Okay,
so seventh edition. There were a few metal like character models, but mostly the hard plastic, like New Phoenix Guard, Allevian Reavers. Like, is it what's the high elf goblin set? Is that what it was, or was it high elves and
the
plastic two-player starter set?
Was high elves and goblins.
Right. So I had a bunch of those. I had the plastic sword masters, the plastic Sea Guard, and so I had a bunch of that, and then just remember when we did the Bretonian thing? It's just like that, but not as many sealed in box stuff. Only like 3 or 4 sealed in box kits. But luckily, I have a nutter that lives here in town that is all about high elves. And so
awesome!
Glad to get it to a good home.
Yeah,
went to a good home. So I'm working on that. Well, we should probably talk, Luke. We were just talking before he came on air that I do have orcs in the offing in a little bit, so I've got a few other armies that I'm going to be purging as well. But yeah, so I'm working on that. Just trying to. What the problem is though? I downsized like a big spot on a shelf, and all that happened was a bunch of Mantic product got put there. So I didn't really actually solve any problems. I mean, all I did was take the money from divesting the high elves and turned it into a bunch of Armada. So I got all the new Armada, like resin terrain and the new monsters and the set of Seared Dread.
Well, sometimes it's good to get rid of something and use that money to fund the hobby and get whatever you're into currently, so that's fine.
Well, it's funny too. Well, we'll save that for a chat about other hobbies. But I finally went through and like because I'm a double upper, so one inbox, one displayed. Well, I'm not keeping the boxes for the displayed figures anymore. I'm done with that. It's like just so many boxes are just sitting there empty. Like, nope, trash. But yeah, so I got Armada coming up. And then, Michigan GT, I really kind of fell back in love with the Salamanders.
Nice.
So
is that where you're going to take the Michigan GT?
That's what I'm going to take. Yeah. And so I really have pulled them back out and really kind of brushed them off a little bit. And just, I'm going to add a few new units. So,
well, that's what I really want to see. I mean, are you doing the ceremonial guard or?
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. So,
okay. That's,
so
if I remember correctly, that's what you needed, right?
Yeah, ceremonial guard. And by the way, I've been playing some ceremonial guard, and they're
really good.
Freaking really good. Now, well, I'll show you some pictures actually.
Cool.
Let me get some pictures here. A couple games that I played. Let me go here first. All right, so here we go. So I played a game against my nemesis Swatley, and he had 7 regiments of pack hunters.
Okay.
And 2 hordes of frost claws.
Now, so we had a little bit of shooting.
Well, here's the thing. I punched him hard, and he died. Yeah. Because I popped Veil of Shadows, bunch of defense 5, and just he only had a Chimera that could really punch me. Oh, actually 3 hordes of Frost Fangs. I misspoke, or maybe that's a regiment. I think that's 3 hordes. I can't remember. And then he has 2 Ice Queens. But what happened is he just didn't have any. You know what pack hunters hate?
What?
And Frostclaws hate? They hate ceremonial guard.
Yeah.
Right, because of the flyers. And the pack hunters have Thunderous Charge. So, anyways, this game was great because I pushed it forward, and unfortunately, Eric Torbridge would say that just kind of confirmed my biases. But one of the things I do love is in the bottom corner here, our tackle's my new favorite addition to the list. I love our tackle.
Yeah.
Speed 7, range at 3+, piercing 1, piercing 2 against Titans. I mean, just like, oh, she's so good.
Yeah, so Salamanders have a few characters that are really good.
The big difference is I had been running a little bit more Scorch Wings, like 2 regiments or 2 hordes, I mean. And this, I've dropped one of the Rhino. Really, if I want to be effective, I need to drop both Rhino Cav. But I'm not going to have time to paint it. So what I've got is I've added Ceremonial Guard, a 2nd Phoenix, and our tackle. Those are the 3 things I'm trying to get painted in the next 6 weeks. And so so this was the first game. It was great. I mean, my stuff's faster than him, other than his Chimera, and I obliterated him. And then we played again. Let me see here if I get this to go. And he destroyed me. So this time he came back with Glade Stalkers, right? And he brought 2 hordes of Frostfang, which, he had a Chimera, which he took. He's on this base down here, but he had a Frostclaw character, but it was a much more effective list against me because my stuff, this stuff is 14 or 15 charging. Maybe I can add some speed to him, but like his stuff is all charged. These are charging 15 and 14. Yeah. So
and it punches hard enough that if he does get a charge off, it's good.
I had a chance. I pushed the Ceremonial Guard up and he hit him with here's the problem that I had against this list. My hammers would hit and they do like 8 wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd heal it all back because he has like Celestial Restoration and heal. Like heal 8 on 1, and then it was like, so it was all for naught if I couldn't punch you out. And then when I pushed my Ceremonial Guard up into here, he hit him with 1 Frost Fang Horde, which, on paper doesn't sound that bad, but you're still getting 10 hits and at defense 5, wounding on 3s. And then he had the Giant and he wavered him, which destroyed me at that point. He rolled like a crazy, I don't know, maybe it was 9. I can't remember, but he wavered him. And then once he wavered him, that screwed me up because I had some plans to like, do some cagey maneuver. But this army totally destroyed me. Just totally destroyed me. And to be fair, I had some situations where I thought I was making the right moves, and then mathematically it was totally not the right moves. So I am looking to add a greater. I have the greater fire elemental. I haven't painted it yet, but let me share some pictures of what I have been painting. Not really painting, I guess modeling. So I'm starting with, this is the Ceremonial Guard Horde base.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, so this is for those who don't remember, it's like a city built into like the edge of a river, and the river's not there yet, but it will be. And so this is how it starts: piece of MDF, some 3D printed tile, some epoxy sculpt to just kind of make it here, and then I paint a thing, and then I've got some more pictures. this is what it looks like when you add the sand.
Got
right?
it.
And the thing in the back's already painted. And then this is what it looks like when it's finished.
Uh-huh.
So,
Cool.
yeah. So now I guess got to do that. And then starting to work on some basic for some Phoenixes. Now for the Phoenixes, I'm pivoting a little bit. I have the big Phoenix, right? The big Basilean resin Phoenix. The son of a gun is 7 inches tall. And he takes up a whole lot of space in my case. I don't have room for another one of those. So what I've decided is he's going to become an ancient Phoenix. And I'm going to add 2 smaller Phoenixes. And so what I'm doing is I took the 3D printed Armada Phoenix and I upsized it to 300%. And I've got 2 bases. So this is going to be kind of like a rocky formation with a tree coming off the edge, like a palm tree. Yeah. And I'm going to mount the Phoenix there. And then I'm also going to have one that's mounted to like a piece of brickwork.
Oh, nice.
So I'm working on those. And that might be, that's pretty much it for, I have the ceremonial guard. I've got 35 ceremonial guard to do. Yeah. And resin bits. I love the way they look. I hate having to clean them up. I spent all day today cleaning them up, and got them right soaking in LA's Totally Awesome, which is this cheap degreaser you can get from Dollar General in the United States. Yeah. So I'm really happy with how it's going to come out. But yeah, I'm super. Now I don't have the base yet for this thing yet. I just got the piece cut up, and it's interesting. It's a resin 3D print, and it looks pretty good. It is I'm a little, it's brittle.
Yeah.
Well, good, Bill. You're probably an expert at it then. I'll have to get some tips on what they did or what you did to beat them up so I can do the opposite.
Yeah. So you cannot be that guy.
I cannot be that guy. Well, to be fair, I'm trying to avoid, like, my rule for this army is I don't really want to have more than 2 of any unit type. Now, the Phoenix is the exception. I'm going to have 1 big one and 2 small ones. I don't think I'll run with 3, but I might try it out at some point. Nice. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's I love the Salamander models. I think they're great, and I'm looking forward to doing more work on the display board. Like right now, there's no trees, so I'm looking to get more trees and stuff. And the only problem I have, Jeremy, is that the display board it's the same problem when people make a display board where you drop in the custom units spots.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I have a spot where I'm pulling out a Rhinosaur unit. So I've got to put something back in there because the front of the building is missing. So, it's like, and it's like, well, I'm not sure what to do yet. I might, and same thing with one of the roofs. I only have 1 horde of Scorch Wings. So I have a roof that has Scorch Wings on. I mean, I might just leave them on and not worry about it because it looks okay. It's just not going to be part of the army on the table. But I'm excited about the 3D prints. I was happy that the way the what's nice about the 300% is it's not as big as the full size one, but it's still big enough to it's a Phoenix. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean it looks great. I think that's a great idea. Now that those are on the vault, that you can use, you can mess with them, right?
Well, I totally made it
size wise.
They sculpted it like full scale, right? Like you blow it up, and you're not losing any detail.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, I just use sunlight to harden them up.
Oh yeah, because you got to cure those, right?
You got to cure it. Yeah. I'm certainly not an expert at it. I honestly am not an expert at it. And I've only got 1 assembled right now. And I didn't pin the wings, and I'm gonna take some epoxy sculpt and try to fix it up and clean up the gap a little bit. But I don't really want to have to pin resin. Like this resin, when you try to drill it, it likes to crack and it doesn't really drill out cleanly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's hobby. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is the narrative event, Jeremy. We have been going gangbusters behind the scenes. So right now it's myself, Ben Stoddard, Mike Rossi, Blake Schroed from Michigan, Billy Smith from here, Trent Sorsby from Germany, and Kyle Prezelinski. We have been meeting like once a week, and we're coming up with the narrative arc. We're pretty far along. And what I would say, we're not really ready to present all the story and what we're going to do there. But what I would say is that folks need to be ready that it's not going to be a bunch of standard pitch battles on large fields of green grass. We are one little thing. We are going to do a siege battle, but it's going to be a different take on a siege battle, right? It's going to be something different.
Okay.
And the hope is that we're going to take people to places in Panathor they haven't been before, in their battles of Kings of War. So yeah, and we're really spending a lot of effort trying to tie it back to what Mantic has planned for 2024. So they've got some army updates coming, and we're trying to make sure that's all incorporated, and we're trying to like future proof it, if that makes sense.
Got it.
Oh, Mike Rossi's amazing. By the way, Mike was a later addition, but I was like, man, we need somebody to help us with some dwarves and just like punch up the narrative for a couple things. And Mike is a godsend. Like, he is the voice of reason sometimes, and certainly last week he's like, hey guys, let's think about this. And, he asks the tough questions sometimes. Like, he's really good at playing the devil's advocate. But yeah, I love that guy. Actually, everybody that's been part of this has been amazing. Ben Stoddard is a complete nutter in the sense that, obviously he writes books for Wing to Star, and so does Mike. But like, we came up with the original concept, and like within like the next day I wake up and Ben's like, here's 6 pages. Here's the first arc. I'm like, okay, Ben. Okay. It was hard keeping up with Ben. He was so passionate about it. So really excited.
Have you guys talked about how is it going to be deployed? Is it going to be like a weekend, like the campaign weekend where everyone can take part, or is it early? You guys are still thinking about it, or
it's going to be a 2-day event.
Okay,
right?
2-day event.
We'll probably have Friday. We'll have some other optional stuff on Friday. But it definitely going to be a 2-day, but we don't know yet where it will be in 2024.
Okay, so it will be an actual like 2-day event you can go to.
Yeah, it'll be 100%.
Okay,
and,
awesome.
and we're really, one of the things that we'll put out there now, or I'll put out there now, is that we're looking for kind of like-minded, engaged zealots.
Yeah.
That, want to fully dive into Panathor, right? Because we're not keeping score, but we are keeping the progress of the narrative arc that we're doing, and yeah. So Ben brings up a few good points here. Some of the stuff Blake Shode's come up with for a large spectacle battle is just like, well, first of all, it's going to be kick butt to play on the table, right? But and it's going to be like something you've never seen before. But like, it's got me salivating. It's like, okay, I need to take a week off and clean my garage out and get ready, because I am all in. We've got terrain plans in the wings, and it's going to require. I'm gonna have to build a lot of terrain, which I'm totally, me, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just and Blake is also crazy. So Blake is like, hey, this little thing, part of the story, I want to focus on that. And then the next day he has it all written up with like, I mean, the one thing that's interesting about the way we're doing this is that we haven't really we've brainstormed some mechanics, but we haven't thought about like, this is what we're going to do mechanically. It's all about the narrative. It's all about the story. Once the story's done, then we'll make the story inform the narrative, right?
Got it. So you're following a story first, and then that will kind of guide you on what you want to do on the table.
Right. And we want to make it awesome. Yeah, yes, 100%. We're going to do all of that. So what's been a real godsend though, Chuck, has been the RPG, the failed RPG. If you go through some of that materials, they have some beautiful maps that they created, and we are leveraging the crap out of them.
Oh, totally.
They are high res, well detailed, well illustrated. But yeah, we're excited. Just the hook of what we've came up with. Because we threw everything at the wall, and this is the one that was like got everybody like, oh yeah, we're doing that. We're doing that. That's the story. And it's going to be great because, there's going to be multiple, I'm going to call it factions, but multiple contingents, right? And, the goal is that you're not going to have the full story. You're only going to have the story what we need to tell that faction, right? And so the story will unfold to you as you play across the table.
Like over the weekend of the event, the story, like almost like we're at a murder mystery party.
Exactly. Well, and I'm sure some people have heard about it, but, mechanically there is going to be, within each contingency, each contingent, there's going to be like different roles. There'll be a spy, there'll be a scout, there'll be a quartermaster, a general, and they'll have off-table things they've got to work on and help with to set the story.
So much fun.
Oh, we're like, that's goal number one. Is it's just all about fun, and that's why I will say up front, like you got to have the right mindset, because if you're coming here just to kick people in the teeth, this is not for you. Like, this is about come with a new army, all painted up. We need background stories. It's a little bit of that Blue City Brawl vibe that I used to have, where for the opening ceremony, you would basically recite why your army was there, why you're fighting this army in the first round. What's the motivation in the background? The background for your army. So it's what I'm saying is it's going to be a lot of investment up front by the players, but I think if you invest in this, it's going to deliver a lot of good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, super excited. Like I said, I'm almost ready to start diving into some terrain. So super excited about that. But probably a good segue, man. All this new Mantic stuff that's been coming out has just been, oh man, it's just amazing, right? Like, I mean, we had Night Stalkers earlier this year, we had Northern Alliance, but now all this Clash of Kings stuff is hit. Is the hype is getting, and then the Twilight King videos.
What did you think seeing the Pack Hunters and Frostclaws up close? It seems like you've been playing against them. What were your thoughts?
So Swatley is a guy a little bit like, well, a lot like our buddy down in Australia, right? He's going to push it to the limit. He's going to see what's the maximum amount of spam I can take. And so he's kind of like poked at my guard a little bit, like with all the different options. I would say the Frost Claws are completely fair. They're pointed correctly. You're not going to, if you're spamming them, you're doing it for a narrative reason, because they're, what are they, 255 with the shooting attack? I don't know, something like that. They're pointed correctly. So and to be fair, I didn't really have a problem with them, but I mean, there probably is armies that they would give them fits, but I thought they were fair. The Pack Hunters, I think the jury's still out. What I would say is, man, they are pretty good for, what are they, 135 points?
Yeah.
So when you compare them to Glade Stalkers, if you're just gonna use them as a shooting platform, if you're gonna use a unit as a shooting platform, you could argue just take the Pack Hunters, because they don't have steady aim, but they also hit on 4s, and they're a lot less money, right? And they unlock. The difference, though, and this is what happened in our last game, is he didn't take Pack Hunters, he took the Glade Stalkers. The Glade Stalkers shine when you get combat. So yes, you're able to move and shoot because of steady aim. Yes, they cost a lot more, but they were very, very, very effective. Because if you give them a flank, they have elite. Hitting on 3s. Yes, they don't have any Thunder Charge or Crushing, but they have Pathfinder. So, so I guess what I'm saying is I can see that spamming Pack Hunters with the 24-inch range is a skew list, and there's going to be some lists that are just going to destroy it, and there's going to be other lists that are going to get it completely shot off the table by it. That being said, so what I'm saying is, from a balance perspective, it probably works itself out, but it's not fun to play against, right?
Yeah.
Because when you got like 60 shots. So, I mean, one of the things I did was I kind of had to go a little bit harder into shooting. So, I've got a mage with the diadem and Fireball 16, and I bring our tackle now, and I'm, putting out 50 shots, right?
What did you think of the new models?
Oh, well, yeah, the Frost Claws, so he didn't build the Ice Kid Hunters yet, the shooting guys yet.
Yeah,
but he built the Frost Claws, and they were really awesome. They're awesome.
Cool.
Super awesome. And all of that's got me just salivating over the thought of, okay, what's coming in Clash of Kings?
Yeah.
And then they start dropping the Twilight King stuff, and it's just got me like, what? Okay, let's do this. Now, and what it sounds like is exactly what I want. I don't want Dark Elves. 100%. You give me Dark Elves, I'm disappointed.
It's gonna be its own thing.
Yeah. And I love the kind of the message that, maybe what we've seen from the Night Stalkers physically in Panathor isn't really Night Stalkers. It's more Night Stalkers that are being controlled by Twilight.
There's another intelligence. There's another. Someone's pulling the strings, right?
Yes, and I think that's going to be great. Maybe they're going to push. Obviously, we have Shadowed Horizons coming up. And I think maybe we're going to find that maybe we have a new bad in the world, right? That's it's been the Abyss for so long. Maybe Twilight Kin are ready to usurp them. The Sons of Korgan, right? Mm-hmm. I just think it's super cool. Now, aesthetically, I have no interest in the army, other than the fact that the bits. I like the Night Stalker vibe, but almost like I would almost call it like horror, right? Like very dark, grim. I don't know. Dude's got like helmets and I don't know. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on? I mean, they've showed some sculpts, right? They showed the 2-headed dragon, which I thought was cool. I think that's a great model. If somebody wanted to run 2 void lurkers, excuse me, you can run that as one of those.
I think in looking at the new design, I think what I love the most is I love the impalers. I think they look amazing.
The big, large infantry guys.
Yeah, I think those look cool. That 2-headed monster thing is cool. I think once we see more of the hard plastics, people will get excited about those for the other units. Yeah, so I think there's going to be plenty of stuff to make it both something new and unique, but still have some elements of what you might be familiar. But again, Rob, we're going to go back to this point. Mantic never said that they were going to make Twilightkin be GW Dark Elves. It's going to be its own thing. So
right, which is what I want. Exactly.
Which I want too. I know we're on the same page. It's been how many years? No longer. Well, my GW army doesn't work for this anymore. I'm upset.
It's not Warhammer, right? Yeah.
Too bad, so sad. This game has been in existence for enough years that now it's time for us to realize that this is its own thing, and that things change.
Stand on its own merits.
This is on its own thing. So if an army that you have doesn't exactly work for a different game system, that's not the new game. That's not the other game system's fault. That you have a product that doesn't, isn't built for it, that no longer maybe works.
Well, I'm just excited that they're going to take something I mean, first of all, they haven't had models for Twilightkin since like first edition, right? So
long ago, right?
Yeah, so long ago. But like, I'm just excited that they're taking an army and they're just reinventing it. I'm going to call it like Manticfying it, right? Like really turning it into something unique. Night Stalkers, Basilean, super unique.
Yeah.
Northern Alliance, super unique.
And they're finding ways to introduce
see more of them.
Yeah, and they're introducing flavor in interesting ways. Like Northern Alliance used to have Frozen, but it was like an afterthought. And now
I will say the Frost Claws the giant having the Frost Frozen aura.
Yeah.
Giving out those Frost Fangs vicious was a real problem.
It makes having to manage your Frozen stuff an interesting little extra gameplay without making new rules. So to me, that's a real good example of how do we add a little bit more depth, but don't go over the top. I think it's interesting to see.
Exactly. Let's give a shout out to Paige. He wanted to mention that, hey, they've got the Clash of Kings Southeast Asia happening on the 13th of January 2024 in Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia. So, super awesome. Congratulations, Paige, and go General Gad and all those guys down there. Nicholas Lee, right? He's down there. So super awesome to see.
That's awesome to see a Clash of Kings now in another region hub. That's awesome.
Love it. I'm super excited about that. So and to that end, I do want to mention Michigan GC's coming up and looking at what events they're going to have. We've got Armada, Firefight, Kings of War, and Dead Zone. So lots of great Mantic stuff. If you're a person that loves all of those different systems, being able to go and actually play in 2 or 3 of those events is amazing. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice. And do they have a vendor hall? I know it's not going to be Decepticon size, but
no, but Mantic will be there. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the point, right? Yeah, you could certainly take your old models and use them as something new, but there's going to be new units that you don't have models for that didn't exist in the old list. Yeah.
And you can always use whatever for whatever, you know what I mean? You could, depending on where you're at. I'm just saying that, it's good to see Mantic taking these classic armies and making them their own thing. I think that it's only going to help the game system if people see new, fresh ideas, and it's not just like well,
we're not right? Yeah, we're not. It's not Warhammer. So I like the fact that Panther's got its own flavor.
Exactly.
And every time they take an army and reinvent it, be it the Empire of Dust or Northern Alliance, whatever. Northern Alliance is a good example of where they created from scratch. But taking an army that like Twilightkin, which you could argue was kind of dark elfish back in the day, tear it down and rebuild it from the foundation up. And I've liked everything. To your point, the Impaler model, the concept art looks really good.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I'm
I'm
excited.
just like, I tell myself, like, I don't need a Twilight Kin army. I don't need a Twilight Kin army. But, because I
Welcome to my
have,
world.
yeah. I mean, I've got to finish these salamanders. I still, and I didn't mention, I think Luke had he mentioned the Greater Fire. I've got I still have a lot more salamanders to paint. Like, I have fire elementals and Greater Fire elementals, unblooded, because I'm about, I just want to paint models because they look awesome, not necessarily how they go on the table. So, and then I've got a whole Night Stalker army, and I finished like 3,000 points of goblins, but that's like a drop in the bucket, right? Like, I still have a lot of goblins to paint as well. I have a Northern Alliance army sitting in the garage. I've got Ratkin. So I'm just, you know what? I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to work on this until I'm done. Until I feel like I want to move on. And then I'm going to go to another project.
And you can't even buy anything right now anyway, Rob. It's not for sale yet. So you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. My problem is, though, like, there's always something for sale, right? Like, so the new Armada stuff dropped. I'm like, well, I got to have that. So it's like, yeah. Oh, what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
A bunch of cool stuff coming out. You
see any new movies lately? Any new movies or
TV
shows?
Yeah. When I was in Texas, we went to a couple movies.
What'd you see?
We saw the new Mission Impossible.
Did you like it?
It's what you would.
Oh, come on.
No.
He does his own stunts, man.
Yeah. Well, let me finish.
Okay. All right.
It's an action movie. So it is of that ilk.
Okay. I like the Mission Impossible series a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I just couldn't get anybody to go with me. My daughter's like she'll do certain things. Like this weekend we went to see Blue Beetle. She's like, oh, I'll go see that, or she'll see Ninja Turtles. But she wasn't.
Who am I? I mean, he does all his own stunts. Looks amazing, and for a guy who's almost 60, I won't ever.
No, he's over 60, dude. He's got to be like older than 60, dude. Come on.
I want to
look it up.
He is 50.
Because I'm gonna be 50 this year, and I know when I was in high school,
61.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So for a 61-year-old guy, amazing,
pretty fit, pretty amazing.
But he is 61. So, but anyway, saw that, thought it was good, and then we went and saw Oppenheimer, which was incredible.
I haven't seen that yet. My wife and I are talking. We need to go see it. I want to see it bad.
It's a long movie, but it's really visually, it's worth seeing on the big screen that you wouldn't think it would be, because it's a thought drama, but there's some visuals in it that are just pretty incredible.
Did you see the new Ninja Turtles yet?
No, but I've been hearing a lot of good buzz. Did you go?
Yeah, we saw it. I mean, the best way I can describe it is it's not my Ninja Turtles. So for me, it was like, okay, it was fun. There was some fun stuff. My daughter loved it. I think a new generation that doesn't have any emotional. It's funny because I just want to see Blue Beetle and the juxtaposition between these two. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, I was buying Mirage comics back in the 80s, right? So I am fully in. And so when I go to see a movie where they're reinventing it, it's always like, well, I'm comparing it to what I already love. But like, I saw the Blue Beetle this weekend, and I was like, I don't know anything about the Blue Beetle. I don't know anything. And so I didn't have that problem where I'm like, well, he didn't act the way I was expecting them to act, or any of that stuff. Now, the movie itself, the Blue Beetle, it was okay. It's not a great superhero movie, right? And I was telling you before we got on that it's kind of the problem that Superman has, which is, how do I get emotionally invested in Superman? Like, he's, now I will say, as I say that, I love Lois and Clark. So, no, Superman and Lois, not Lois and Clark. Superman and Lois, the WB show, right?
Oh, which is a great show.
Right. But like, so Blue Beetle, he's got, well, no spoilers here, but for those who know, Blue Beetle is kind of gets, it's like a parasitic relationship with, or a synergy with, a alien host. So it's sort of the same thing as Superman. Like, well, how do you fear for someone that is like very, very powerful? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Has like, and in this case, can just tell the alien to just don't let me die.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't have to do anything. It just does it for him. So I will say, visually though, it was great. I liked it quite a bit. You know me, dude. I'm a kid of the 80s. So anytime you have like 80s throwbacks with like purple and pink and teal neon colors, and they're playing like 80s music on the radio, I'm like, okay, that's cool. There was a few retro nods that but I don't know. Look, I'm a big fan of superhero movies in general.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to go see it. And even if I don't like it, I'm going because I want them to keep making them.
Yeah.
Right? And so, it's not the best movie ever made, but it's not as I kind of liked. I'll say it. Shazam 2 wasn't. I didn't hate that movie.
I liked the
hate,
first one, but I didn't see the second one.
I liked the first one a lot. Black Adam, I didn't hate that one either. So Blue Beetle's the same thing. I didn't hate it. Now, I'm a Marvel guy, so I am all about Iron Man. So if I had to pick DC, the Batman movies, right? I like Batman. But yeah. So what a time to be alive, though, right?
Totally.
Well, awesome.
Cool, man.
We got one more comment here. The Pope Extras was cool. I haven't seen that. No. I probably won't see that. The next movie I'm trying to get my daughter to go, and she's poo-pooing me, man. It's a stupid concept, but I want to see it anyways. The Gran Turismo movie. So the kid is like racing.
Oh yeah, I heard
Gran
that was
Turismo
so bad.
I'm sure it is. But it's like one of those I just want to go. Like sometimes you want to see a train wreck.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. My daughter was poo-pooing it. She's like, "No, I'm not going to see that." So that'll probably have to wait till streaming.
What about the Barbie movie? Did she want to go see the Barbie movie? Did she want to see that?
We did. We saw that. It was how do I say this nicely? It was not really for that age demographic. No. Okay. So it was like a little bit like it was her and 3 of her friends, and it was like the most awkward conversations. She's like, "What's a fascist?" What I mean? So it's like, I was like, so ask your mom. So, yeah. Miguel, he did a great job. I mean, like I said, I didn't hate the movie. In fact, what I would say is the movie is well shot, but the plot is where it kind of falls flat a little bit. They have like pretty much everything in the movie is a MacGuffin wherever it needs to be. So like whatever they need that if you know what a MacGuffin is, you'll get what I'm saying. It's just dude. So okay, I'm all about G.I. Joe, right? And Transformers is also a love of mine. The new Transformers movie, Rise of the Beasts, we went to see that. That was another one. Now, one of the things that made that movie so much fun, there was 2 reasons. One is, I won't spoil it, but stay till the credits. That was one. But the music, man, 90s hip hop, man. We're busting out Wu-Tang Clan. Like in the first scene, I was like, okay, all right. And then they were playing some Notorious B.I.G. I was like, okay, you got me. Because that's my high school, that's my college days.
Yeah.
I was gonna say high school, but no, it wasn't high school. It was college.
Nice.
Yeah. So well, awesome, man. I don't know. We've got like I said, we got a show with Matt from North Carolina to talk about his tournament coming up in the North Carolina scene. Coming up this week, I'm going to get Bill Hupp in from Thistle and Rose, talk about his game company and just talk about his experience. I met him first time at Adepticon. I don't know if you remember, he was the one that was kind of walking around checking out our games.
Yes.
And so I'm really excited to get him on the show. And we got a lot of other stuff. And we did put a post up. Hey, what else you guys want to see? And everybody wants to see Army reviews. The reality is that typically Army reviews should be like fall, winter, spring. Summertime is a bad time because you're really close to Clash of Kings, and
it's too close.
It's going to be obsolete by the time we get it out. So we do have some in the wings that we're sort of just put on pause. We'll get them. Yeah. And we've got a couple more that we want to do. We want to do Rack and Slaves, which but again, we probably just need to wait and see.
And to do them right, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of editing time. So we don't want to spend, we want to make sure we get you guys a good product.
Well, if we do an Army review, it's probably going to be 5 years before we get back to that Army review.
Exactly. Right? Wait till especially
it needs to stand. It needs to be at least. We want to keep it as relative as we can for the longest amount of time.
Not have it be obsolete a month after it comes out.
Yeah. So, that's one of the things. We'll get back to the community building episode. We'll have a lot of stuff coming up in the narrative event that we're planning. We got Mantic's involvement with Kyle. So it's been really fun to bounce ideas off of him. He's like, well, this is actually the story that's going to happen. He's like really, and obviously Mike Rossi and Ben are very cued into narratively what's happening in the world with the Winged Hussar, right?
Yeah.
So we're really spending a lot of time making sure that there's an internal balance or consistency, and trying to put the right hooks in and tell a story that I think, well, first of all, give you the framework for a story where you have the agency to tell the story you want to tell, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure novel, right? And yeah, I'm just, Jeremy, I don't want to say I'm burned out, but like competitively, I'm just like, kind of over competitive play for a little bit. I just kind of like, I'm ready for something different. Yeah, I'm ready for something different. And, I think this is kind of what's going to jumpstart it for me. I think,
it's
the
better to take a little
narrative
break.
play.
Like, I know after playing MCP for 3 weeks, and I haven't played Kings since Lone Wolf, I think. So it's been a bit for me. But thinking about playing in Bay of Kings has me excited again because I took that break. So sometimes taking a break or doing something different for the overall longevity of your love of the hobby is only going to be good to do.
Yeah, and I had a little bit of a break over the summer until I ran Kings of Memphis, but then I did go to the best of the rest, and that kind of sparked me back up. And I'm still excited to go to Michigan GT. I'm excited about playing the Salamanders, but I'm also ready to kind of like, all right, let's do this other thing. Let's build a really big, obnoxious. For those who don't know, and we'll do a live stream at some point, but I have really big armies. 15, 20,000 points. Multiple armies like that. And that was how I used to play Warhammer. We would play 45,000 points aside, and it would take all day, and we would finish 2 turns because that game sucked.
Yeah.
Right? But I think now with some of the things that we can do, and Kings of War is a better system for leveraging that scale. So
sure,
I'm excited about what the future holds. So
nice.
Well, awesome,
cool,
man. It was good chatting with you. I haven't chatted with you in a while.
Yeah, it's been nice to catch up.
We definitely have to read. I don't know what happened. I think I deleted the freaking episode where we talked other hobbies.
Yeah, no, that was my fault. I didn't.
Well, either way, we're gonna record it again, and I've got some new stuff to talk about. I've got a whole new action figure line that I didn't know I needed, and now I'm like,
and now you can't ever be without.
$100 later, I'm not even just scratching the surface.
That's funny.
It's a problem, really. I had to have that conversation with my wife. She's like at some point, like I don't have like okay, this is how bad it is. I told my daughter, so look, if you don't start coming up here to use your paint station, it's going away. I said I need the room for others on the shelves. For more action figures. So there's like 3 feet of wall space that's not covered.
That you better make a decision. Gloriously used by you, right?
Exactly. She hasn't touched it in like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm like,
you gotta be like,
maybe
it's your first life lesson, girl. You don't use this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, awesome, dude. It was good catching up,
brother. Yeah, good to talk to you too.
All right, everybody for chatting, coming in and watching us hang out.
For watching.
And I appreciate all the comments. So, Chuck, good to see you again. Ben, Bill, nice having you on. I think it might have been the first time Bill Stein from the Northeast is on. Obviously, Paige Neo is on. Luke. Who else did we miss? Troy was on. Kyle, we don't really care about Kyle, let's be honest. He left us.
How do you feel about that? He moved away, Rob. Are you sad?
The problem is he was making. Well, you know what? This is what I should say. He moved away, and the Blue City Brawlers shit the bed this weekend.
Well, then there you go.
He wasn't there to help prop him up. So, everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you
have a great week, guys. Bye.